There's a bunch of stuff happening in the news. There's that solar company scandal. What's it called? Solyndra? Solyndra, S-O-L-Y-N-D-R-A, right? This is the company that just went bankrupt that last year Obama was like, hey, it's the future of solar. Now, if you're not following it closely, it looks really bad for Obama. And I think, I mourn because it's just going to make, the people who are against renewable energy, solar energy, are just going to use this to say, see, it can't work. Right? And that's garbage. Don't believe that for a second. But if you look at it closely, there's a couple of things that explain it that are like, okay, this isn't so bad. However, people on the left, there you go, my right, your left. People on the left, some of them, Kevin Drum over at Mother Jones and a couple of other people, are really minimizing what looks to me like clear greasing the wheels, business as usual Washington corruption, right? Seriously, I mean, there was pressure from the White House to expedite this loan, the loan to go through after there was a big check sent. I mean, it just looks like business as usual. So the people on the left who are trying to get you to say, oh, this is just an ordinary business failure, I think they're embarrassing themselves a little by not noting that this is loan guarantee going to company, big campaign contributions coming the other way. To say that there's nothing kind of odd about that is it's just, the ties look very close, and it does look like crony business, crony capitalism, right? However, here's what they're not telling you on the right, Carol. The law that created these loan guarantees was started in 2006 by the Bush administration. At the end of the Bush administration, if you go to my Twitter feed, there's a timeline linked that goes through all of this, very carefully documenting all of these events. At the very end of the Bush administration, Bush and company tried to push through this loan guarantee to Solyndra before Obama got inaugurated. I swear to God, Carol, they tried to push it through, and it was people who were in the offices, the Department of Energy, who said, no, we don't want to do this. So the brakes were put on the Bush administration trying to shove this thing through. A few months later, they approved it and said, yeah, there's due diligence. Now, here's why Solyndra failed. This is what people are saying. It wasn't some pie-in-the-sky thing, although it looks bad now. And clearly, these, some of these loans are going to work out, some of them aren't. That's just the way it works. However, it does look bad, and it looks like some warning signs were obviously overlooked. It just doesn't look good. But here's what the argument, if you're on the right, you should at least understand the argument that the left is making here. Solyndra's new technology was a replacement for silicon-based parts. I am not a solar engineer, so I can't go into detail. I'm going to keep this short, Carol. Solyndra's technology was pushed. They got a lot of venture capital money, a lot of money from private investors. A lot of people in the private industry invested in this company as well. It wasn't just the government loan guarantees. It was based on the fact that the price of silicon was very high and expected to stay high. So they have a non-silicon replacement for this component. Again, I'm very vague because I just know the general outline. I can't talk to you about the technical specifics. And soon after their big push to get all this public and private money, China started flooding the market with cheaper silicon, and the price of silicon lowered because the economic recession meant demand was down. And so the price of silicon kept lowering and lowering. And if your business model is, we have a cheap replacement for silicon, that's what makes our business work, and the price of silicon keeps going down, suddenly your business model doesn't look very good. Now, should they have caught it faster? Or should they have stopped, not released more of the money? Who knows? And that's what I think the people on the left are ignoring. There really is plenty of room for crony capitalist corruption here. And I don't think we should ignore that possibility. But in this case, the people on the right need to know what the people on the left are saying, which is that, look, this is a small percentage of all the Department of Energy loans. I think it's 1.3% of all of them. It's the only one that we know has any problem at all. And it's kind of normal in these things to go ahead and seed money to these corporations, and some will fail and some won't. Hopefully, most of them will not fail. So that's the argument. Now, what's happening on the far right is they're using this to scream corruption, 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 and also all solar energy and all renewables are crap, and we shouldn't even bother investing in them. Meanwhile, the loan guarantees to the oil industry and the nuclear industry, they run in the billions and billions and hundreds of billions over the years, right? And the same Republicans, this is the part I love, Carol, the same Republicans, if you go to my Twitter feed, I link to a couple of articles about this, the same Republicans that are screaming about we need more oversight of these loan guarantees have in the past also gotten pushed to get loan guarantees for their own pet projects, including a couple of quote-unquote renewables, cars that run on ethanol. This is, what's his name, Vitter in Louisiana, the guy that used prostitutes. Apologized and people reelected him. I love these right-wingers, these morality crusaders. But anyway, so, you know, the same people that are screaming about this guarantee program have also been pushing for their own pet projects to get guarantees. So, and of course, they're pushing like mad for oil and fossil fuel companies to keep getting the guarantees that they've been getting for decades. All right, so just be aware of what's happening here, right? It doesn't look like this was like an empty shell company with a bogus plan that only got money because they donated lots of money to Obama, and they set up this terrible company that they didn't even bother trying to make a profit. No, they had a business model that attracted hundreds of millions of dollars in private investors, right? Okay, that's all I'm saying. Now, Carol, that in itself doesn't mean much, because we know the .com boom. There were a lot of, I'll never forget my friend working for egardens.com back in the day.
We shared a building with them.
Oh, did you really? Oh, Carol her company shared a building with them. And I asked him one day, I said, how does your company make money? He was a programmer, what did he care, right? And he's like, you know, I don't know. 3 weeks later, he was fired and said, I wish I would have listened to you and found out how, well, not that it would have been any good back then, but you know, there are plenty of companies that can raise lots of money with bad business models. But in this case, from what I've been able to ascertain, it actually looked pretty good for a while. And probably will again when silicon prices go back up. But anyway, so it didn't work out. Don't allow people to use this to push down renewable energy, because it couldn't be more obvious we need it. And remember, we're in a fix with the pollution and the oil, and we're now doing the tar sands thing up in Canada. This is crappy oil that's going to take a lot more processing. What does it mean when we process the raw fuel, fossil fuel, into oil that we can use in our cars, right, or our homes? It means tons of pollution and byproducts. Horrible cancer clusters around the processing plants, which usually end up in poor black neighborhoods, you know, across the South. All right, maybe not just the South, but you know what I'm saying. It's economic racism. You know, poor brown-skinned people get the cancer clusters generally, or poor white people. It's not just brown skin. I'm sorry, I was being embracist there. Non-embracist. I need to be more embracist. Should I explain embracism again, Carol? Just move on. I'm going to move on. If you don't know what embracism is, it's a special concept that a friend and I have invented. Actually, Dusty invented it, and I latched onto it because it's brilliant. But we'll talk about embracism next week. All right. Basically, you're allowed to make mistakes in your racism, as long as you acknowledge them. That's one of the 3 fundamental pillars of embracism. All right. The second fundamental pillar is that you're supposed to forgive people when they stumble and make racist mistakes. That's the second fundamental pillar of embracism. So both sides, you're allowed to make the mistakes as long as you acknowledge them, and then you can't use that to just hammer someone forever and ever and ever, because we all make those stupid little racist mistakes sometimes. All right, now I'll tell you the third pillar some other time.